Static post singular photos by itself, not so much. That's why you always want to post a carousel. It can be even a carousel of photos.
Okay.
It's always going to do better than a static post. The reason being, the impact in terms of how many clients I was able to work with in terms of like sales being made, 10,000, 100,000, same.
Okay.
Same.
Same amount.
Reason being is everyone's on a different buyer's journey. That 100,000 follower number is actually more so a vanity metric for people to say, oh, wow, she's legit, or he's legit, or I should trust him. You know, that's a big number. But when it comes down to it, the number means nothing if the content isn't actually converting.
Welcome to the Level Me podcast, where we rise to the level of those around us. And today we have Manique from The Socialista. Manique, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Welcome to the GC.
Thanks for having me.
I know.
It's sunny. It's beautiful.
I just added you on Instagram like 5 seconds ago. checked your stories and you flew in this morning. So
I did.
I know. Is it hot for you or are you all right?
It's nice.
Okay.
Fun fact, Sydney is actually really warm right now.
Oh, really?
Today. And I was like, what's happening?
Nice.
Am I in the Gold Coast? Is it inviting me there?
You're on your way. They
Yes.
knew you're on your way.
I just pray that it stays sunny all weekend while I'm here.
Okay. I haven't checked the weather. Have you?
I think it's going to rain.
Oh, that's no good.
No.
Oh.
I hope I didn't bring the rain. I'm
The
sorry
day
if I did.
you're with me, it's nice and sunny. That's all that matters.
Here for it.
But you do have a big weekend.
I do.
You're speaking tomorrow?
Speaking tomorrow.
Okay. What on?
I'm speaking all about how to turn your followers into dollars.
Nice.
And get your audience to slide into your DMs wanting to work with you.
Nice. I like it.
So I'm excited for that. And then Saturday, I'm attending the conference,
Cool.
which is going to be awesome. And then Sunday, I have a VIP content creation day with a few of my clients, which will be good too.
That'd be good. Are they like GC-based clients?
No.
Okay.
One of them is.
Okay.
The rest of them are flying in.
Wow.
I know, bless them.
Oh, so you organised the event and they're all coming? Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah, it's
Settle
so good.
down. And then are you doing a launch on Monday?
And I'm doing a launch. So I'm starting a launch. This is phase 1. And I'm starting a launch.
You're crazy.
So yeah, we'll see how we go. I'm doing a different kind of launch this time. I like to test and trial new things. So we're testing a new thing. We'll see if it works. It most likely usually does work-ish, but we'll see.
Okay. I like it.
Things are always changing.
So, the Socialista, what do you guys do?
Yes. So the Socialista, we help service-based businesses and coaches to use their content marketing to stand out, show up, and sell out. We have 2 sides of the business. We have the coaching side of the business, digital products, courses, where we really support our clients in that journey from going from 10K months to 30K and beyond. We help them create courses, scale their teams, scale their content marketing to be able to reach the right person and to get their content to actually start working for them. So that's that side of the business. And the other side of the business, which is where it actually all started, was the agency side. And this is where we have clients and we take over their social media, we create their reels for them. We are basically a one-stop shop for all content marketing, organic stuff, especially Instagram and Facebook.
Nice, I like it. And how did it start? Was it like, were you just, I could just imagine you, a little Mon, was always good at Instagram and now all of a sudden it's transformed into a business. Is that, have I nailed the story there?
No, I actually hated social media.
Really?
Hated social media. I studied journalism at uni.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm going to be a journalist. That's it. I want to be on TV. Journalists will be great. Then I realized as I was going through it, I was like, I don't love this. So I took a digital marketing unit at uni and I was like, oh, I love this. And all of a sudden I just turned everything into social media. So all of the little projects and assignments we had, I turned it into social media. And this was before social media was an actual unit or like course at uni. And then I got a job in writing, which also meant social media. And so I just always ended up in jobs where I was there for writing and then I morphed into social media, or they saw my skill set in social media and so they moved me there. So I just kept gravitating towards social media, even though I didn't necessarily want to be in it. And so I decided to one day just start the Socialista, because I wanted to bring high quality social media content to Western Sydney. In Sydney, it's very big, right? And there are tons of businesses, but all the good marketing agencies are in the city.
Okay.
And I live about 45 minutes to an hour out of the city. And I was like, why are there not good marketing agencies or content creators out here to service these people? And so I decided to do that. and service them. And so that's where we all started.
Nice. That's really cool. Because you'd think like being online and having like a social presence, you could do it from anywhere, right? But
Correct.
obviously because you're doing the reels and generating the content and everything else like that, there's a point in like being close to them demographically, right? Like
Exactly.
being local.
Well, the issue was because we're from like Western Sydney, if you're working with agencies in the city, they actually refuse to come out to create content for them.
Wow.
I know. Sydney's crazy.
That's weird.
Very, very crazy. But as time has progressed, we have clients from all over the world, like New York, UK, and we do it all virtually, the content creation side of it, which is great. So it's really cool how over the last 6.5 years, it's really evolved from being in person to now pretty much running everything online.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you when you first started the business, you were actually physically going to these locations, filming the reels, editing the reels, doing everything else like that.
Well, back then Reels didn't exist.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
What
it was
they called?
just videos.
Oh, right.
It was videos, photos for them, doing their social media like management, so writing their captions, uploading their posts, doing stories, behind the scenes, bits and pieces like that. And then obviously over time, so I started this in 2018. In 2020, Reels came out, and I felt like, oh my gosh, finally my life has been unlocked. Because like I said, I wanted to do journalism. I wanted to be on TV and on camera. And it sort of felt like this part of me was being awakened, and I could actually show more of my authentic self, because up until that point, it was just static content. There's only so much you can say in a photo and a caption that is limited. So when Reels came out, I went all in, posting 3 Reels per week, and slowly over the next 3 months from there, my following grew from 4,000 to 10,000 really quickly. Because when Reels came out, people were really skeptical. They weren't sure and they weren't really jumping on it. And so I was one of those pioneers that was like, cool, like let's go all in. And being first to a technology, being first to a platform will always benefit you. And that's just proof in the pudding that it actually does work, and it works really well.
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those things, like everyone's kind of skeptical when it first comes out and you're like, oh, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? And like there's some things that don't work. Like I was just having a chat about this before, that the Twitter Periscope thing that came out. Yes. And I was like, it looked like it could work, but it didn't. And then there was like Musical.ly, which is now kind of TikTok. Vine. Yeah, that's right. And Gary Vee always says this is like the learnings that you take from that, you can take anywhere. Correct. Even if the audience doesn't stay, like you can redo it. It would have been amazing when Reels came out, especially for you, because you would have loved it.
Insane. I loved it. And then I created my very first course, or own course.
Okay.
And that's when everything just blew up.
Okay.
Because I was known for something.
Did you, from the agency side, like at that point in time, did you have, how many clients do you reckon you had at that?
At that time, it was crazy.
Okay.
I was booked out with clients. So we had, at this time, it was just me and a VA.
Okay.
That's it. And I think we had, for myself, about 11 clients for social media management. Then I had 7 coaching clients a week, plus creating this course, selling this course, doing all the things. I look back now thinking, how did I do that?
That's crazy.
There's no way I could do that now. Back then, I was like, cool, let's go. And I definitely got someone on board by the end of the year, where I was like, cool, I need a social media manager now to come in and take care of the client. And that's when I really started to step out of the social media management side and into the coaching, courses, mentoring side of it.
Yeah, when you're starting out, I think you're super hungry, so you just kind of do whatever. So was the coaching side of the business born out of a request from clients to be like, teach me how to do this?
Exactly right. It was actually 2 months before COVID.
Okay.
When I got my very first request for coaching. She's like, I can do content, like I can do the thing. I just don't know what I'm doing and how to do it better and things like that. So I had my very first coaching call. It was in person. We went to a library.
Cute.
Bless her. And it was supposed to be a 1 hour call, a 1 hour session. We were there for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And I charged like $90.
Hey, you got to start somewhere.
Yes. Yeah. But I was like, this is crazy. And so from that point on, I was like, no in-person stuff. Because it's so easy just to go over time when you're in person. And then, over the next 1.5 years, raised the prices and did all the things. Obviously, COVID happened in between there. And so I lost almost all my clients for the social media management side. And then that's when the coaching and the courses side grew. So they both teeter. One's doing well, one's not doing well, but more so one's just taking the back seat, and they sort of like teeter depending on what the audience needs. There's always times where people are like, cool, I want to learn so much. And people are like, I'm tapped, do it for me.
Yeah, well, people like with the economy, people would change. They'd be like, I can't, like, or even just going through their own business growth.
Yeah.
No matter what the economy's doing, they might be like, I'm just time poor. Like, I don't have the ability to do this. Can you just handle everything? Or you might have the people like, wow, I can see what you're doing. It looks really good. Teach me how to do it.
Exactly.
So you can kind of see how those two areas of the business go. So, I mean, what's is it still like a 50-50 split, or what's like the breakdown now? Are you trying to like shift more out of the agency side into the course side, or how does that look?
Yeah, so slowly shifting out of the agency side and into more of the course side. Team is always a big like pinch point, because obviously you need people to run the social media social media accounts, right? And I think it's at that difficult point where you've got your hands in too many buckets that it's hard to give all your attention, your love and strategy into all of them at once.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm really focusing more so on the courses and the coaching side, the mentoring side of my business, the strategy, even the in-person reels stuff, because I'd still do that. But the management of accounts and creating carousels and captions and blah, 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 that's run by the team solely. And the split at the moment is somewhat 50-50, more maybe 65, 45, favoring coaching.
Okay. Well, that's good. And do you feel like it's moving more and more in that direction?
It teeters.
Okay.
It depends on what I'm launching. So if I'm launching something that's really, really hot, amazing, great.
Yeah.
Everyone's in, everyone's rocking. If I'm launching something that's a bit more high ticket, obviously you're getting less people, etc. But it's high touch point, high results, bigger transformations, which I love. I love that so much. So yeah, it really just changes and evolves depending on what I'm launching.
Do you get backwards compatibility though? Like, will you have people that have gone through the course and then they're just like, this is great, I've learnt it, but I actually don't have time. Can you just handle it for me?
Yeah, all the time. Or they do the courses or the programs and the coaching. They get so confident, they do the thing, they do it too well that they are now inundated with clients, inundated with all the things. They're like, cool, Mon, take the reins.
Can you just handle it?
Take over.
That's cool. They kind of like flow off each other then. And so
Yeah.
like it's kind of like this flywheel where you can build that audience for the course. They can bring them in, teach them how to do it all. And then if they don't want to handle it, you can handle it for them as well.
Exactly.
That's really, really cool. What are some trends and things that you're seeing at the moment that are working really well for, because I know you mentioned like the carousels and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I think I've heard that some people are doing like a static image to start and then a scroll and then a video, and that works really well.
Yes.
Number one, what's working really well at the moment?
Reels and carousels are both doing really well at the moment. So static post, singular photos by itself, not so much. That's why you always want to post a carousel. It can be even a carousel of photos.
Okay.
It's always going to do better than a static post. The reason being is when you have a carousel, Instagram gives that carousel a second life.
Okay.
So it shows the audience the very first slide. Let's say you scroll past, you weren't interested. When you log onto Instagram again the next time, Instagram will actually show you the second slide, which is why it's so important that the first slide and the second slide are the juiciest things that you have. You have a really juicy hook in the first slide, and the second slide speaks to the person, the scenario, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, so they feel drawn in on that. So carousels are doing really well for that at the moment, especially even with the videos scrolling in, because if you've got a really great hook on the first slide of the carousel and the second slide is the video where it hooks them in with the motion, with the visual hook, that's really great too. Reels still just absolutely kill it so well. It isn't because Instagram is favoring Reels, it's because of its foundations in video marketing. And there's a reason why movies, TV shows just do so well versus newspaper, magazines. It's because people like to be entertained. People like to feel like they're immersed in a world. People like to lose track of time, really. You go on Instagram, you go on TikTok, you know you're in there for a long time. And they're not so much there to read or to consume heavy content. They're more so there to be entertained
Mm.
And so that's why video does really, really well.
Yeah, I think video's always been really good, well, especially since Reels has come out, because it keeps people there, and that's what the platform wants, right? They want you to be on the platform for as long as possible. So if you get a little snippet or something they can watch, it's super valuable.
Exactly.
So there's two mindsets that I'm in.
Yeah.
The first one is people always say like, all you need is 1,000 followers to like true followers to like follow where you're at. And then you've got the people where you see that have got like 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 followers, and you know, they've got massive accounts and it feels like they've got massive accounts. What have you seen in the landscape of the social media side of things? Because I only started I've been big on LinkedIn and Facebook for ages, but we sell B2B. So like we work with 200 businesses. So for me, I love the 1,000 followers thing because that's all I really need to keep the business rolling. But then I see like a lot of people out there that have these massive followings. I'm like, I'd love to get to that level as well. So I only really started Instagram April, I think it was, and like just below the 1,000 followers mark now. But where do you sit in those two categories? What do you think works well? What do you think doesn't work well? And then like, how do you grow that if you really want to?
Cool. So the impact in terms of how many clients I was able to work with in terms of like sales being made, 10,000, 100,000, same.
Okay.
Same
amount.
Reason being is everyone's on a different buyer's journey. They're either coming in from the start and they need a little bit more nurturing, or they're already hot to go. Now, whether you have 1,000 followers or you have 100,000 followers, if you don't know how to sell to them, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And so that 100,000 follower number is actually more so a vanity metric for people to say, oh, wow, she's legit, or he's legit, or I should trust him. You know, that's a big number. But when it comes down to it, the number means nothing if the content isn't actually converting. So look, it's good for vanity metrics to be like, cool, like I've got 100,000 followers, like that's really, really awesome. But, you know, Instagram, it was 2021, Instagram reached out to me to work with me, and they paid me to create a reel for them. And at the time, I think I had about 30,000 followers, and they still did that. It wasn't like I needed to hit 100,000, 200, 300,000 followers for them to even think to work with me. They just found me on Instagram. They sent me an email, and a month later, my reel was on their account.
Wow.
And I didn't need to have a huge following to do that.
Yeah, well, they must just like what they saw and said,
It's the value.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And they're probably real followers and stuff like that as well. So it's not like you're just fake and everything else like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting because I heard this the other day, and I was like, is this still a thing? Back in 2018, 2019, around that time, something that was really big was something called engagement pods. And so what would happen is you would upload a post to Instagram or to Facebook or to anywhere, and then you would copy and paste that link and put it into a group chat. Say, guys, go and like my post, comment on my post. So all of a sudden you would have 20 people commenting on your post. And on the outside, it looks, wow, this hair salon or this, you know, PT, they're slaying it. Look at all the people that are engaging. It looks great. We busted this years and years ago. That is not how you do things, because what happens is you're training the algorithm to show your content to more people like them. And usually what happens is you're in a group of other hairdressers, and so now your content is being seen by other hairdressers. So yeah, you could have 20,000 followers. Yeah, you could have 20 comments, but if they're all hairdressers, you may as well not post, because they're not your target audience and they're never going to buy from you. They may refer you later on if they can't take it on. But at the end of the day, who are you doing this for? It's for the audience, right?
Yeah.
So I was floored on Tuesday when I heard that people are still doing this.
Oh, really? It's still a thing?
Still a thing.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. What about, like, while we're there, what about the whole like paying for likes and paying for followers and all that sort of stuff? What I've heard is like, they're just all bots, number one, and then it kind of just stuffs up the algorithm anyway.
It tanks your account. Tanks your account. Now you can't always stop your Instagram account from bots following. It will just happen naturally. Even if, especially as you grow an account, more bots and fake accounts and things like that still do follow you. But buying likes, buying followers, again, it's for the vanity. It's not for the real connection. Like, what's social media? It's social. It's about connecting. It's about people. It's about relationships. It's about showing your journey in your life, your transformation. And if you've just got bots following you, Instagram doesn't see that as real engagement. And so your content just stops getting seen by people. I had a client who was really, really hell-bent on this number. I really want 10,000 followers. And so they went and they bought 10,000 followers. And I was like pulling my hair out. No, why? Why? And all of a sudden, their Instagram page just stopped being seen. Like, you would type their name in onto Instagram and their account was no longer visible to anyone.
Gosh,
Yeah.
did it get blocked or anything, or just it didn't appear?
It just didn't appear.
Wow.
Just because you violated the terms of Instagram. And that's the whole thing as well. Why are you risking your actual brand for that? Like, would you sell fake Gucci?
No.
No. So why do you need fake followers?
It's so true. And it's like, well, it's exactly what you say. Like, who is your audience? Who are you actually selling to? You're not selling to the 10,000 pots.
Yeah.
Like, I understand the vanity metric of being like, oh, he's got 10,000 followers,
Yeah.
so let's go follow him because there's proof in the pudding. But if they're not real and you're not getting like likes and comments and everything else on your reels, then what's the point?
Yeah. And you're never actually going to reach those real people who will see that vanity metric and be like, wow, that's awesome. Because Instagram isn't pushing your posts out to those kinds of people. So it's better to have a slow growth and slow journey to that 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 with quality content that speaks to your target audience, as opposed to just buying it, taking the shortcut. Because if you're taking the shortcut now, you're losing out in the long term.
Yeah. So how does someone go from like what? I know there's no shortcuts or fast routes, but how would, if someone did have that 10,000 number in their head, how do they go from, let's say, 1,000 to 10,000? Is it just consistency and delivering good content?
Yeah. So it's consistency, delivering good content. There's 3 different types of content to post when it comes to generating a following and converting. So the first type of content here is attraction content. This is where you're going to get the most amount of people into your world. The second is your nurture content. This is where you're really going to love on them and show them that you are the go-to leader in the space. And the third one is your conversion content, which is like, here is an invitation, download my app, join my program, whatever it might be, and then they move in. And so every single post that you create has a purpose. So if you're creating content that you want to attract a new audience with, you're creating relatable content that allows your audience to feel seen in your world. Okay. You're creating inspirational content that allows them to think that, wow, that's possible for me. Let me follow that page. You're also creating polarizing content, because if you stand for nothing, or you stand for nothing, right? So if you stand for everything, you stand for nothing. And when you're creating polarizing content, you're going against the grain and against what other people are saying. And people are really looking for that breath of fresh air of, how else can I do this thing that I want to do? Or how else can I find a solution to this problem that I have? And so you really want to come out as that expert, using that authority, share your journey, share where you've been. So that's the kind of content that you want to be posting. Don't do this, do that. The old way versus the new way. That's the kind of content that is really going to attract eyeballs, to make them think, wow, like this is really valuable. Now notice that I didn't say educational content in that.
You didn't.
Right?
Why?
Somewhere along the way, over the past 6-7 years, all these gurus were saying, post value, post value, post value. You hear Hormozy all the time. Value, 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 value. Always give value. Somewhere along the way, we mixed wires and somehow said that value equals education. And so then it became 3 tips too. Here's how to do this. And it became generic content that you can just find on Google, on YouTube. You can find this anywhere. Joe Blow down the road can make that content by searching it on Google. And so all of a sudden, we went from people using value with education at the start, being like, wow, this is really great. Like, I'm the first one doing this. No one else is doing it. And now there are 20 other accountants or 20 other beauticians or coaches or whatever, all sharing the exact same information.
So true.
So how are you standing out? What does that look like for you, right? So value actually is moving your audience to shift their mindset.
Okay.
Value is showing that you're the leader. Value is polarizing content, relatable content. Value is showing them that you see them or that you've been in their shoes or that there is another way. So that's what value is. And value technically is just showing up for your audience.
I love it. It's funny because there's a certain person in our industry who has quite a large following, and his content is polarizing and it works. Like he's like these are the shit house places that I wouldn't invest in, and it's not like these are the 5 mistakes that you can make, or these are the 5 issues that you're going to face, or this is what to do here or not to do there. It's actually valuable content, but it's not educational in the sense of like, here's a list of 5 things to do. It's there's value there, but it's also entertaining as well, and he does it really well. So
and notice what you've said there. Here are the places I would never invest in. So we go from here are the 5 places to never invest in to here are the 5 places I would never invest in. Think about when there's an issue in your life. You message your best friend, your mate, your wife, your mum. Hey mum, like what would you do in this situation? Oh, I would do X. You value that opinion as opposed to like, why don't you Google that answer? Because that's just anyone's answer. There's validity in that social proof as well, in that someone else has done it, someone else has seen results from it, someone else believes in it. And so it automatically closes that trust bridge between you and either where you want to go or that decision that you want to make. So by someone saying, here's what I would never do, you automatically trust them even more.
Yeah, well, and they're setting themselves up as that kind of leadership view, right? It's not like these are the 5 things to do that I've just Googled or that you could go and Google. It's like, well, this is what's worked for me and this is what I wouldn't do in that position again.
Yeah, well, that's why people work with coaches, right? So that they don't make all the mistakes. They work with a coach who's been where they want to go, who's done the things, who's made the mistakes, so that they can actually shortcut it. I like to explain it as like Disneyland. Every time I go to Disneyland or anywhere, I don't just buy my ticket and go into the fair or whatever the playground, I don't know what you call it. I buy a fast pass because I'm not spending my full day standing in a line to get on 3 rides. I'm getting a fast pass. I'm paying the extra money so I can go on all the rides, and I end up running laps around people because that's what I value, right? And it's the same thing when you're working with a coach or in a program or you're doing something. You're paying for their expertise. You're paying for their failures. You're paying for their knowledge that you wouldn't get if you tried to do it yourself. And so you actually end up getting to where you want to go faster as opposed to just teetering around and waiting for the right time, and you get right to the front of the line. Sorry, it's closed.
Yeah, can't go on anymore. Yeah, you have to make the mistakes yourself and learn the hard way, or you can just pay someone to learn from their mistakes.
It's like a no-brainer.
You said something really important before around like your target audience and the algorithm publishing your content to your target audience. So for people that like have accounts that might do different things, I guess it just wouldn't work, right? Like if you're talking about like, so I'm a prime example of this, right? Like I do my businesses in property, but it's also a SaaS product, but I also really love business as well. So there's like a whole range of topics that I could potentially talk about.
Yes.
And then the algorithm's probably going, well, I have no idea who your target audience is. So who am I going to shift this to? But what would you do in that scenario where like, you know, maybe someone had started a personal account and then they switch it to business?
Yeah.
Should they start a fresh account? If they're starting like a separate business, should there be a separate, like a new business account that they need to set up?
So for someone like you, I would have a business account for the property business.
Yep.
But then what I would do is I would have a personal brand for all the SaaS stuff and all the business development stuff, because SaaS and business development, they somewhat are in the same space. And so you can start talking about that because it's the same target audience, whether they choose the route of SaaS or whatever, like they're still learning the same thing. Whereas the property side, they're not interested in the behind the scenes of how you built this business or the intricacies of SaaS and things like that. So that's a totally different audience. So always think about, okay, cool. Would my audience be interested in the things I'm talking about here? The answer is yes, same page. The answer is no, two separate pages. And one becomes almost like a funnel to the other sometimes too, which is really awesome. But if you were someone who started a personal brand and then you turned it into a business, I would have a separate business account. Someone that does this really well is someone like Georgie Stevenson. She has her brands that she runs, but then she still has her personal brand, Georgie Stevenson. And so people, if you have the budget and the time, all the things, people run these other accounts and it's solely focused on directing her audience to the supplements and the bits and the pieces, right? And so people are going there for that reason. But people follow Georgie because they love who she is, what she stands for, her family, bits and pieces. And then when she talks about her manifestation course, people are like, oh, wow, this is awesome. And so it directs them to the right Instagram page from there. When she starts talking about her supplements business and Naked Harvest and what they do there, people then go over to that. So it almost acts like that funnel, but your personal brand is almost like the tree trunk, and all the different businesses that you do have their own separate branches, and they will have their own separate identities and purposes, and you sort of funnel people in. So people come to you because they love who you are, and then they buy the thing that is going
resonates with
to
them. Or they
need.
start buying something, that one product, and then they find out who you are, and then
Correct.
you're there, and they might go buy something else as well.
Exactly. So it all interlinks. And so if you're trying to speak to all the things at once, you're going to confuse your audience completely. But if you have them moving off into certain places, it's easier for them to be like, cool, great, love her, love you, love what you're doing. Don't need that right now, but I'll stay for the other stuff. So it's not like, for example, the property side, everything's property. Whereas on the personal brand, you might do one property post and like a photo of you and your family, and then a thing that you learned in business today. And so it's quite broad. And so it's still giving your audience the things that they want to hear without it being heavy in property.
Yeah, one-sided.
Yeah.
And then it's always like focused on that particular audience and building out that audience.
Yeah, unless you were to have that solely as I'm the property guy.
Yeah.
Then that's when you would do
when you
that. And you
stick to
wouldn't really talk about the SaaS and the business side, because now you're building an audience
Just
for property.
the property side, yeah.
Correct.
That makes sense. So you mentioned when Reels came out on Instagram, it was life-changing.
Life-changing.
What about like TikTok or YouTube
Yeah.
Shorts or anything else like that?
Yeah.
Do you start to delve in those now?
Look, honestly, when TikTok came out, I didn't jump on TikTok straight away. I still really am not fully immersed in it. I'm a consumer of TikTok.
Aren't we all?
Honestly, there was a time where I'm like, I need to delete this app. I'd be on there at like 11 p.m. and I'm still there at 2.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's a bit crazy.
That was a wild time. But principles are very similar. However, content is very different, which is the hard thing. And so I was pouring all of my energy into Instagram because my audience was already there. I had all these courses to sell and things to do. So why would I start somewhere fresh, meaning I'm taking away my focus from a place where it's generating me good money? So at the time I was like, I'll just come back to that later. Here we are 3 years later, right? And so looking back, and hindsight's a beautiful thing, right? And looking back, I'd be like, Manique, just freaking do it. Like, what are you doing? Even if it's just reposting the content that you have, it's better than not posting at all. And so I did very much get in my own head. And I assume a lot of people do this with Instagram too, where when TikTok first came out and you had all these creators who were like, in order to really grow on TikTok, you need to post 3 times a day. You need to post this kind of content and this kind of content and this kind of content. And I was so overwhelmed because I'm like, I'm already sharing everything on stories. I'm already creating reels. I'm already doing all these things. You want me to shop 3 times a day on TikTok? So I was like a hard no to that. But I think as time has gone on, I think it really goes to show that even though things like posting 3 times a day is maybe ideal, it's not where you need to start. It's not the be all and end all, and it's not the only way of entry. So if that means posting 3 times a week, which is what I do on Instagram right now, then do that. Because that is better than nothing.
Yeah. And
right?
that's what I was going to ask you about, like repurposing content as well,
Yeah.
because the content is so different on TikTok. Like it's almost like I know almost everyone consumes on TikTok, but it's a big generational thing as well. Like there's a certain demographic of people that watch on there, and so the content that they like and consume is different. Have you delved much into like, well, you should create things specifically for Instagram and then things specifically for TikTok, or is repurposing just fine?
If you're starting out, repurposing is just fine.
Okay.
Because you're just going to overwhelm yourself, not do it, and just throw in the towel. And that's not what we want, right? So start off with repurposing, and also use your repurposed posts as sort of like filler posts in between. But think about TikTok a little bit more like Instagram stories. People love just talking on, like, even just consuming people talking. Like I will just watch a video of someone just talking about their life, their struggles, maybe their successes. And so that's a big part of what I love TikTok for. Like I was painting a banner the other day and I found this girl on TikTok and she had a 10-part series talking about an ordeal that happened in her life. And so I just put my phone on the side, put my AirPods in, started painting, and I was there for an hour listening to her because it's broken up into 10-minute increments, listening to part 1, part 2, part 3. There was a series that came out, what was it? It was a girl in America, and it was like, who the F was my husband, or who the F was he, or something like that. It went crazy. It was this girl talking about how she met this guy. They got married really quickly. They had a baby, but then they lost the baby, and he actually lied about his whole entire life. His job, where he lived, his siblings, his name, everything. He lied about everything. So she married someone that was a complete catfish.
Wow.
And so she had like 68 parts, all 10 minutes long. She grew her following from subpar of 1,000 to 3.5 million followers in a week.
In a week?
In a week.
Wow.
I listened to every single part of that.
How many parts is it? 62?
Like 62, 68, something ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Oh my goodness.
But this is the thing, right? TikTok is designed to actually get you sucked in and to stay there. And people just love to hear the real, raw and authentic. That's the difference between, I think, Instagram and TikTok. Instagram is a little bit more polished. I'm not going to say aesthetic because we're not in the aesthetic era, but TikTok is just the authenticity. It really doesn't need to be hard. It really is like, get your phone out, talk about an issue that's happening.
Yeah.
Run with it.
It's so true. I think I was talking to, I think it was a 24-year-old not too long ago, and we were talking about like this style of content where, you know, you got a nice camera and it's all set up and everything looks really nice and polished. There's nice edits. And they were saying like, as soon as you see that on TikTok, it almost just feels like an ad.
Correct.
So I'm just going to scroll past it instantly because it's not what you're saying. It's like, just pull out the phone, just have a conversation, make it real. Generally, it's just people walking around or talking to themselves or whatever it might be. It doesn't feel authentic. It feels like an ad.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to skip past it, right?
You'll notice that, and this is slowly moving its way into Instagram. So what happens is, the way that it works is that it blows up on TikTok, and whatever happens on TikTok happens on TikTok. And in a few months, that sort of seeps into Instagram, and you start to see that sort of content coming on Instagram as well. But the idea of, oh, you just caught me really quickly, you know, talking in the car or while I'm doing my makeup, you know, people get their phone and they have their hand on their phone. They put it down on the windowsill, and you can see them putting their phone down and being like, okay, cool, this just happened to me right now. So it looks like they've just whipped their phone out. They may have prepared what they were going to say, 100%. Like I
or
would.
it's take 5.
Or it's take 5. But they're pulling their phone out and they're setting it down and they're talking, and it feels like they've just sat down for coffee and someone's like, oh my gosh, you can't believe what just happened to me today. And so it feels like you're just catching up with a mate, as opposed to, we're going to sit down, we're going to talk, I'm going to give you some information and I'm going to leave. It's more intimate. It's more, like you said, authentic. And that's what people are really craving when we think about TV. There's a reason why reality TV does so well. You know, Love is Blind, The Bachelor, all of those things is because people love stories and stories sell. You think that your life is mundane or boring, but people love that.
Yeah. And it feels like, I mean, it's relatable. Like it could be a story that you went through or went through a similar situation or whatever it might be. Like, oh, I used to go through that.
Yeah.
So you've got the agency side, you've got the course side of things, and it's 50-50 split. How many was just yourself and a VA for a while? How many staff members do you have now?
Yeah. So it was just myself and a VA, and now I've got, so for the agency side, we've got one full-timer, 3 casuals.
Yep.
I've scaled that back a little bit so I can set up the systems
Yep.
to then scale it up again.
Cool.
So that's what's currently happening over on that side.
Nice.
Then in the coaching and courses side, it's just me.
Nice.
Just me and a VA, and we're rocking it.
Are you still doing like one-on-one course mentorship type scenario?
Very sparingly.
Okay.
For a few clients, sparingly.
Yep.
I have a group coaching program at the moment. It's 12 months, and you can do a VIP upgrade.
Okay.
And the VIP upgrade will give you a one-on-one with me every so often,
Yep.
which I love, which is so good. I love one-on-ones. And I also do some intensives for some people as well, here and there.
But you've pretty much switched to the one-to-many model.
One-to-many model.
Yeah. And is that just through, did you like learn that through being like, well, I've only got a certain amount of time, I have to sell it to many, or learn it the hard way?
That's exactly what happened. So I was doing 7 coaching calls a week along with the agency and running my own social media, because this is one thing I have a bone to pick with, actually. Don't call yourself a social media manager or a social media coach and not post on your own social media. I'm sorry. Lead by example. Do better. Like, come on.
It's so true.
Oh,
how can you not have a social media presence if you're,
you have 300 followers and you're calling yourself a launch expert or a social media manager or a so-and-so?
But wouldn't you sell like your services through your personal social media anyway? Like,
right?
Makes sense.
A lot of people do word of mouth and bits and pieces and things like that. Like, they don't really need their social media. But this comes down to the fact of you want to show up as the go-to person, be the go-to person.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress.
Talk about contractors.
Contractors, yes. Now I'm like completely lost of where we were. Sorry, I'm just like, go all in.
How did you find the contractors? Have you?
One-to-many. Yes, it was one-to-many. Yes. So I was going 7 coaching calls per week.
Okay.
And I had the team and I had all the bits and pieces, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. But what I found is that every single person that was coming to me for one-to-one coaching followed the exact same route. It was always, back then it was focused just solely on Instagram, whereas now we're talking about content marketing, video marketing, omnipresence. It's just a bit more like sales. It's a bit more high level than it was before. But back then it was very much, we need to revamp your bio is a session 1. Session 2, we do your highlights and your visual identity and your branding. Session 3, we talk about your content pillars, your content themes. Session 4, we talk about the content ideas that go inside of that. So it was very structured and everyone followed the exact same methodology. So I packaged that up into a course, which my clients watched, and they joined a call with me every single week where we would implement or I'd answer questions and get things done in the call. So that's how the one-to-many started. And that was in April of 2021.
Okay. Is
when I did my first one-to-many program. I'd run a course 6 months prior, which went crazy. It was all about Reels. We launched this 3 months after Reels came out. So it was great timing.
Perfect timing.
And we ended up with like 2,000 students from all over the world.
Wow. Insane.
Then we created an advanced Reels course. So we funneled the people who had already purchased into the next level. And it was incredible.
Well, that would have been great too, because because it's new technology, things are evolving quite quickly as well, right? Like what would have worked in the first 3 months might not have worked in the next 3 months or the next 6 months. And it still always changes.
Yeah.
And the type of content that you need to deliver, like that thing of like just putting the phone down, like that's new. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to try and keep on top of those trends.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what type of things do you deliver within the course that you've got?
So the current course I have right now, it is really all about content marketing. And so it's about messaging. So really understanding your impact and authority and how you can actually stand out as the go-to person in your sphere. It comes down to messaging. Oh my goodness. The biggest problem that I find people have is they're like, yeah, well, my audience has this problem. I'm going to sell this problem. But they don't have an awareness to that problem yet. They think their problem is this when it's actually over here, and you're selling the wrong thing, which is why you're not making sales. That's the first part of it. It's really understanding your messaging, understanding your target audience, because no matter if you've been in business for 2 years or 10 years, Everyone has this problem. Then the second part we go through is your content, your monetization, your marketing. How are we monetizing your social media? How are we getting more eyeballs to you? Your email marketing, Facebook marketing. We dabble a little bit into ads in there a little bit. And then the last part is business growth. So it's scalability, programs, offers, hiring, team. So it really is just a beautiful synergy between content marketing, Instagram, and business and growth together in one.
Nice. I like
Yeah.
it. Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Might have to do it.
Yes, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how do you, so you do a little bit of ads. Have you delved like too much into ads?
Not really.
Okay.
So when we had our Reels course, we ran a few ads. So I ran the ads to that account. We ran a few ads to it, more so just for visibility to retarget our warm audience and the audience that already follows us. So when we're running like free masterclasses and things like that, we would run a few retargeting ads just to make sure that we're getting that visibility to get people into the course or into the masterclass or whatever it might be. In terms of conversion from ads to course, low. But in terms of visibility to get them into our masterclasses or into our freebies, it was good.
Yeah.
But we didn't really do it for sales. It was more so just for omnipresence and to make sure we had that visibility. So they go back to the Instagram page, they then binge all the content. They're like, cool, I want to work with them. And then they buy.
Yeah.
So it's a different sort of funnel. I don't want them to buy from
Straight
the ad.
away, yeah.
I want them to.
Even if they follow and then, they follow for 6 months and they see your content and
Exactly.
they love it. What about like personally DMing people and like sell by chat and everything else like that? Have you kind of delved into that a little bit?
Not sell by chat. Personal DMs in a different way though.
Okay.
So the way that I do it is, let's say, for example, I announce a free masterclass or a paid challenge or whatever it might be. And we all know, we've all signed up to so many free masterclasses and challenges, and half the time we don't show up because it's free. There's no skin in the game. And honestly, I've got other things to do right now. And I'll watch the replay, which I'll never watch. And so what happens here is, if you are a course creator, a digital creator, whatever it might be, you rely on people being in the room. You rely on people watching that masterclass and being there and feeling the energy, right? And so when people aren't showing up, you could have 100 people registered for this masterclass. You could have 1,000 people registered for this masterclass and only 10 people show up. And so one thing I like to do is, before the masterclass starts, about 24 hours before, I send a DM to every single, I don't send it, my VA sends it over, but send a personal message to every single person who signed up.
I love that.
And then your show up rates skyrocket because it's personal. Hey, Jessica, I saw that you've signed up to my content masterclass. I'm so excited to share the value that I have in here with you. Here's a link just in case you missed it. It's at 10 o'clock at this time, 10 o'clock, at your time. See you there.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like a personal thing. She's actually reached out to me and
she wants me there.
She wants me there, yeah. So I may as well turn up.
It's like an invitation to a party.
Yeah,
right?
true.
You give an invitation.
True. Yeah.
And how hard is it for you to say to their face, I can't come.
Sorry, can't come. I signed up. I wanted to come, but I'm not coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just kind of adds that next level of personalization. Again, people are really craving personalization right now. They're really craving authenticity, connection, and that gives it to them. So I essentially do somewhat of like a personal message to people who are already warm, not cold leads.
Yeah. That makes sense. You don't want like cold outreach type of thing.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the cold outreach side?
Cold outreach worked for me on LinkedIn for a long period of time, just because that's where I kind of felt like a lot of my clients were. But now it's completely oversaturated.
Yeah.
Like everyone on LinkedIn is just like, hey, this is my business. This is what I do. But yeah, on the DM, the sell by chat thing, I've kind of really delved into a lot. Like I think, like I'm not a big phone call guy. Like I hate picking up the phone. It's just I'm an introvert, so it's the way I am.
Yeah.
But I find like if someone messages me on Instagram, it does feel quite personal, and so like I kind of like that landscape and being in that area.
Even if it's a cold DM?
If it's a cold DM, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're not a follower,
yeah,
I don't think it works.
No. Yeah. I hate when people are like, wow, I love your content. You open their Instagram, like the message, they're not following you. It's like, cool. Why are you lying to me?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. But a cool way that you can do it, where you can do sell by chat but not feel icky in that sense, is you can run ads to a freebie, or you can just upload a freebie and just get it out into the world. Once people download the freebie always ask for their Instagram account. And then from there, you would send them a DM. Hey, did the freebie land into your inbox okay? There's a reason for you to message them. You've now taken the time to say, hey, how'd you go? Did you open it? Did you not open it? Chances are they didn't open it yet. But they're going to go in and think, wow, they really care about me. Maybe you send a voice message if it is you. And that adds that next level of personalization and touch points to that person. And I think that's a really cool way that you can, quote unquote, sell by chat by having them already bought in and knowing who you are. So you're going to get a better conversion rate that way than if you're just going to cold DM people.
Yeah. There's a reason to have that touch point. It's not just like cold outreach.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How have you like built the business over time? Has it been like, have you hit like a certain revenue number and then been like, oh, I need to reinvest, I need to get more contractors, I need to do more ads or anything else like that? Or have you kind of just like seen how everything works?
I am very much someone who kind of goes with the flow.
Okay.
And it gets to a point where we're like, cool, we're strapped for time right now. Let's hire someone else. And I'm very scrappy. So I like to do a lot of things myself. Good or a bad thing, I don't know, we'll see. But if I'm not running a challenge and I'm just like, cool, I'm going to create a challenge. I made my own landing page, got everything ready to go, good to go.
Okay.
Then it gets to a point where I'm like, cool, I have no time. Let me hire someone to create my website. Let me hire someone to write my copy or whatever it might be.
Yeah, okay.
Just, again, sometimes lowering the expectation that it's going to be perfect. Because no one's going to be you. No one's going to write like you. No one's going to create like you. And so having that expectation lowered is really important too when you're looking to scale to that next level. But yeah, everything for me in terms of, it's just been working smarter, not harder, in that one-to-many model. Having a course that welcomes 2,000 people in. Having a program where I really only need to show up for 1 hour a week and service 20 clients at once.
Yep.
As opposed to one. It's just about being smarter with the things that you're offering to be able to scale it with ease.
Yeah. Are you planning to try and scale much bigger, huge, take over the world? What's next for Mon?
Honestly, I'm just in this phase of life where I just want to see what's going to happen over the next year and not make too many big changes and decisions. I feel like the next year is going to be a really crazy one and I just want to see where it goes. I think work hard in the things that I'm working on. The landscape is changing a lot. And so it's really hard to plan for these big things that you want to be doing, knowing that things are going to change in the world. And so like buyer behavior has changed, consumer psychology has changed. And so you need to really be adaptable to that. So that's sort of where I'm at. Yeah. I like to kind of see where the market's at, what's happening, and then create something for that.
What makes you say that? Is it like a social media platform change or just like the type of content that we're consuming?
No, I actually think like world changes, like the economy and people and where they're putting their money and things like that. And so that will shift whether you do like low ticket offerings or high ticket offerings. That'll shift your content. That'll shift if you launch, if you don't launch. That'll shift if you decide to build an app. Don't build an app, So I think it's really about listening to your audience. And that's the thing. People build something thinking that their audience needs something, but then they don't.
Yeah.
So it's about having that ability to, go hell for leather and create the thing that you want to create, but also saying the audience is dictating really what they need. And so you need to be able to be flexible and move with that.
Move with the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for someone who is starting out building their social media presence now, what would be like 2 or 3 really good tips?
Yeah. First thing is establish who your target audience is. It's not everyone. It is not everyone. And understand the scenarios in which they feel pain. So for example, if we take a PT, they might say, yeah, I can help everyone lose weight. It's like, no, let's get a bit more specific here. So as you get a bit more specific and you narrow it down, you realize, okay, cool, I want to work with mums who specifically want to lose weight after having a baby. That specificity, you're able to start creating scenarios in your content where it's like POV, when you had a baby 6 months ago and you can't get rid of that stubborn belly fat, here is how you do it. So you're able to create content that speaks to an audience where they can see themselves in your content. So that's really important. And you might feel like, oh, well, I'm just going to exclude lots of people and people, I'm not going to be able to service them. You're not. People will still come to you and people will still see you as the leader in that space, even if they are a 40-year-old ex-soccer player. They'll still come to you. So that's the first thing. Know your audience and understand the scenarios and get really specific in how they're experiencing their life and what they're struggling with. Next, consistency. It is consistency. You can't expect to grow your brand posting one time a week. I definitely felt that at the start. I was like, oh my gosh, I had one client. I have to post, but I'm only doing once a week because I'm too busy. Oh my gosh. What a rookie. But consistency. So pick your consistency schedule. Is that 3 posts per week? Is that 7? Is that showing up on Instagram stories?
Is there such thing as like too much posting? Do you feel like posting every day is like over?
Posting every day is overkill.
Yeah.
Reason being is it needs to be quality over quantity. TikTok is different.
Yeah.
TikTok is very much a quantity game, whereas Instagram is more of a quality game. People are very selective in who they follow on Instagram, whereas TikTok, the algorithm feeds you anything. It's crazy. And so Instagram is very much about that quality side. So then pick your consistency, start small, start doable. Then as you get into the hang of it, then increase your capacity for that. So consistency is really good. And the last part here would be your messaging. Like be a firm stand for something.
Yep.
Like stand out. Don't just blend in with everyone else. Do something different. Show up in a different way. If we use the PT example, everyone's showing exercises that you can do. How can you be different? How can you show it in a different way? How can you, for example, show your audience, don't do this, do that, rather than just showing exercises? So how can you be a bit more of an authority and a leader in the space? Again, by anticipating the needs of your audience. They are someone who wants to lose that stubborn belly fat. They're doing crunches every day. Crunches are not the answer. They're doing, let's say, cardio is the answer. Cool, create a piece of content that says, hey, if you're doing crunches to try to get rid of that belly fat, do this instead. That creates authority, that creates expertise, and automatically your audience is like, wow, if they're telling me this now, imagine what I could do if I actually pay them.
Yeah, work with them and understand it. I love it. That's really, really good advice. And is it just as easy to start Instagram in 2024 as it was in 2018?
It's not. Unfortunately, it is not. It is so oversaturated. There is so much competition. There are thousands of posts being uploaded every single minute. And right now we're in this thing, in a place called the attention economy, where your most valuable currency today is attention. So it means because there's so many people on there and everyone's doing reels now, back before reels were like here and there. How are you standing out? So that third point is really important, like really getting your message across, standing out, being controversial, being bold, being a stand for something. That's how you're actually going to cut through the noise, and everyone else will stay at that bottom level and you will just raise up. So that's how you can actually grow in 2024, being polarizing, speaking to your audience's situation, allowing them to feel heard and seen in your content. That's how you grow. I see creators all the time. They're growing because they're doing that. They're not doing the tips and tricks. That's where you're going to get stuck. They're speaking to their audience's situation. They understand them inside and out, and they're creating content for them to serve them.
Yep. Not just generic.
They're sharing they're sharing their journey, their own transformations, what they've gone through. So that again allows you to stand out from the crowd. It's really right now, you need to stand out. If you're not standing out, you're blending in, and your posts are being seen by your mum.
Mum's biggest fan.
Seriously, she is. My mum is my biggest fan. She's my first like all the time.
I love that.
Bless her.
Whose mum isn't their first like?
I know. But unfortunately, she's not buying from you.
Well, that's true.
It
would be sad if she was too. She'd really just give her in for free. Well, Mon, it's been an amazing chat. Thanks for all your tips and tricks and everything else around Instagram and everything like that.
Thanks for having me.
You're a machine. I'm excited to see you grow. If people wanted to check you out, how do they follow you? Check out your course, all that sort of stuff?
Yes. So on Instagram, you can find me at thesocialista with an underscore, or www.thesocialista.com.au, and everything is all there.
Sweet. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So fun.